Okay, so thank you everyone for joining. Today is the day that I'm going to share with you 15 fun activities to boost auditory attention in children and why it matters and how it how we can improve it. So um, the topic of auditory attention is very important topic because most of the children that come to the clinical setting are somehow struggling with this problem, and then some part of big issues amongst children are related to listening skills. So listening skills needs good auditory attention. And most of the time, once we work with a child, they might say, yeah, I'm a visual guy. Yes, Pastor, my child is a visual guy. Please use visual scheduling or text or pictures or show him what he does, show him what you do, and then he will learn by watching. And sometimes we will say that, yes, actually, the child listening skill or auditory attention is so weak, let's say, does need so much improvement, and that's why that child's vision, that child is totally dependent to looking to compensate lack of auditory attention skills. And then, in nutshell, if you want to define what it means, auditory attention is the ability to focus on relevant sound and filter out background. So just imagine that there is a very important term which is called cocktail party phenomenon. Okay, so cocktail party phenomenon is that uh, in a very busy party that everyone is chilling, chatting, talking, yelling, screaming, saying yoo-hoo, and then having fun. And then in the middle of this crowded, busy party, you all of a sudden overhear someone is saying your name. Someone is talking about you or behind you, but you hear your name, you detect your name there. So how brain is so vigilant in such busy background noise that can detect when your name is being called. So it is a very, very important ability of the brain to detect, distinguish, filter the background sound, and then pay specific attention to the specific sound or word or contractual words or sound. Like, for example, if you are sleeping at night and outside there's a rainy day and the rain is pouring down the ceiling and there's a frequent sound of, and you can fall into sleep with that sound because it's continuously is a natural sound and your ear gets used to it. But all of a sudden, when you are in the deep sleep and you hear, so this is a contractual sound, it's not a natural one. Because in nature, nothing has such rhythm. Okay? Nothing in the nature has the rhythm of, yeah? It's someone knocking the door. I need you to open the door. Okay? And it's up to you whether to open it or not. Okay? But in fact, it's contractual. And your brain has been trained to pay attention to the contractual sound and wake your mind up even if you have fallen into deep sleep. So it's about auditory attention, and it is the fundamental skill needed for making a change in your life and being able to listen. Because once we are able to listen to others, then you are able to have a purposeful, meaningful, successful communication with them. So sometimes in speech language pathology services or among the children, among the clients that take such services, they would feel that our children just talk is enough. But most of the time, the most important phase of the communication is being able to understand what others are saying. So it is called receptive language, that how much you can understand when others talk, okay? And is somehow related or dependent to auditory attention. That's why it is very important. If you want your child has a mature behavior, mature social behavior, if you want your child improves in academic function, if you want your child have a development in learning or acquiring new skills in following the instructions in a rule-based games, they are all related and in need of improvement in auditory attention. So, uh, it's why it is important, because it's important for learning, communication, daily activities. It helps you have a better reading skills, listening comprehension, social interaction. So you know it all. And it's no surprise that in clinical setting, uh, almost all children have some issues about auditory attention because the part of the brain which is responsible to process and make the sound meaningful, okay? Recognize the sound, distinguish the sound, and making sense out of the sounds. The part of the brain which is responsible about these things is a very advanced part of the brain. It's at the higher level of analyzing the sound and analyzing the, let's say, sensory stimulus, okay? And it is very important, okay? So auditory processing skills needs a proper auditory attention. And in the processing, we will realize what that sound means to you. Yes? So, for example, some children with limited auditory processing skills can understand your words if you speak slowly or if you talk short. But if you talk and use a very long sentence in which there are plenty of words and pronouns and adjectives and adverbs are combined to each other in order to make a long phrase like the one that I currently made, it's very hard for them to process it. Or if the child is supposed to listen to a very, very fast-paced communication skill, so it's very hard for him to catch and grasp the whole meaning of that, because the speed of processing is another thing that the child needs to improve at before learning how to how to distinguish each word in a separate thing, match it to a picture in mind, make a meaning out of that, and then relate it to the whole sentence and make a holistic meaning out of that sentence, and then understand your purpose. Okay? So it's all related to auditory processing, and let's say auditory attention is a lower brick for auditory processing. Auditory processing is a fundamental brick for the pyramid of auditory, let's say, linguistic skills or linguistic skills of pragmatics that are tightly related to cognition or metacognition. Okay, so we move forward and we will have a few examples about each one. There's a fun fact that, yes, human's ear can detect sound from 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. But this is this fact needs to be learned with cautious, because most of our ears is only able to detect sounds around 125 hertz, which is a very bass sound like more, and even more bass than this. Oh, oh, oh. That sound is 125, which is a vibration, which vibrating in a longer wave, and maximum 8,000 hertz is the sound that everyone almost can hear, which is a very high-pitched frequency, as if you are making a friction with the paper, or making a sound like of that. I don't know if you can hear that sound or not, but it is 8 kilohertz. So any sound higher than 8 kilohertz means that that sound is so high pitch, and many of the people cannot hear it. But once they say human ear can detect sound, there is a potential in the human ear that the more the widest range of hearing ability among human species is 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz. Yes, it's correct. So, activity number one that I want to define for you to practice along with your child is sound hunt. It's a very easy sound, a very easy game that the child is about to uh, just close eyes and just detect the surrounding sound and what that sound is about. For example, you play a sound, or you can go to the YouTube or find a different program or apps about that you keep playing a sound of something. The child is supposed to close eyes and say, "Mm, cow, mm, walking, mm, heartbeat," and then you keep playing the sounds, and then the child is supposed to identify that sound in the environment, detect it, and say its name. It improves the child's auditory attention and also encourage him in being more attentive and improve his behavioral, his attentional behavior. It's a word which is called attentional behavior, that you show you care. You show that you are caring, which is attentional behavior. In fact, sometimes sometimes children reach to a stage that it's better for me not to show I'm caring, because if I care, there is a risk of failure. Because if I don't care, no one asks me anything, and I'm being isolated or left aside or marginalized. Okay, but it's very important to work or play such activities, such simple activities with your child to make a meaning or feeling of success in him, and then gradually make the work a little harder. For example, in the meantime that you are playing some background noise, in the meantime that you have turned on some, let's say, radio or TV, and you have put a kind of in a news channel, and some person, some anchor is saying very, very blah 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 loud noise and background noise of the TV, and in the meantime you are about to play a sound of some animal and say what animal was it. So he was about to just detect that sound in the background noise, and just another activity that is a little harder than the former one. So activity number two is that about musical freeze. It's about stop to start. Sometimes we use it as a kind of musical chair that the children are supposed to run around the chair, and whenever the music stops, they should freeze or sit on a chair, or even when dancing, once music stops, they should stop dancing. Or another version of that is that if the music beat gets faster, the child needs to have faster movement in the dance, or if the music is slower, the child needs to have it slow, no, accordingly. So slow movement accordingly. So it's about musical praise, and again, it makes the child be connected to the sound and rhythm, and also interacts with the sound based on the movement. So gradually, later on, you will realize that the ear is only one of the main part of body that can hear. Okay, all our body, all the surface of our bodies is hearing. Okay, so our skin is hearing because our skin can feel vibration. Yes, there are two ways of receiving sound. One of them is air conducted and the other one is bone conducted. Yeah, air conducted and bone conducted. It's very important to distinguish these two. So, if you are chewing the food and in the meantime you hear a sound, you might hear the sound inaccurately because, in fact, the vibration out of that chewing some stuff in the mouth counterfeiting with the bone conducted part of what you hear. That's why you prefer not to eat at the same time that you are hearing or listening. For some people, it is hard for them to eat or chew the stuff in the meantime that listening to something important. Yes? So, or for example, let's say that why it is for all of you, it is experience, I'm sure, that once you record your sound and you listen to your own sound, you feel that, am I, is my sound like that? I, I feel a little embarrassed of my own sound. I would expect my sound to be like, no, I hear it in a different way than when it's played. When I play my own sound, when I play back my own sound, I hear that voice is very different from what I myself hear. It's because of the difference between air conducted version and bone conducted version. Okay? So there are plenty of examples about that. So once a child lays his head on the piano and someone is playing piano, the vibration of the sound, okay, that touches the bone, skull, and the skin, okay, can be translated into hearing and perceiving the sound. In fact, the sound system is a wave, yes? Sound is waves that transfers by wave to our ears, skin, bones, and will be interpreted as some, let's say, a voice or sound, okay, that you can hear it, okay, or music or song. So we move forward on the next fun fact, which I love, is that the owls have two ears, but most of the time one of the ears is a little bigger than the other one and a little farther from their head. So, in fact, no, they have asymmetrical ears, and that asymmetrical ears help them have a three-dimensional. Uh, they can they can localize the source of sound in a three dimension more accurately. And wow, so in the middle of once you find some imperfection in the owl and say, ah, gotcha, how that ugly owl that even doesn't have symmetrical ears. Oh, there has been a purpose on that asymmetrical ears. Okay, so uh, we need to be humble. We humans need to be more humble. Yes, asymmetrical ears in ours has a purpose, detecting the sound in a three-dimension environment. So, activity number three is about simultaneity. Yes, it's very commonly um, common game that we play with children about following auditory directions. So touch your nose, tap your head, rub your belly, stop your tummy, stomp your feet, spin around, sit down, stand up, and sometimes we say, Simon say, rub your belly. Sometimes we say, rub your belly. But the children are supposed to only do those instructions if Simon says so. If, for example, Pastor says rub your belly, you should not do that. Simon says. If Pastor says, Simon says rub your belly, you do it. If Pastor all of a sudden says rub your belly, you don't do it, okay? So I make the group of children in front of me, and then I start saying, Simon says, jump. Simon says, sit down. Simon says, tap your head. Rub your belly. Uh-oh, two of the kids are out because they rubbed their belly. I haven't said Simon says. So it's about following the auditory instruction. Another version of that Simon say is that sometimes the person who is saying those instructions might do something with their hand or show something that is in contrast with what is spoken. For example, I'm saying, rub your belly, and then a few children might put their hand on head. So they are out. They should only listen to what I say, not following my verbal, my visual mimic or gesture. So it's the most advanced part of that instruction or game. As Simon says, is getting very hard. But in fact, it's going to not only activate auditory attention, but also teaching the child how to inhibit, how to have a better inhibition, which is about some part of the executive function. Yeah. Fun fact number three is about dolphins. Yes, there is no always when we choose some slide about fun facts about auditory system, dolphins are studying. So dolphins communicate using high frequency clicks and whistles. So they have their own, let's say, Morse language. There is a Morse language. You know Morse language is um, uh, uh, Telegram, not the current Telegram app, the Telegram archetype or um, let's say prototype of Telegram that was just coding every word or letter into specific rhythm. That's say is A, is B, is C, is D, and then so the person who used to do the Morse code would send a signal like these click, 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 and then making a writing. Now the other part, the other person at the other end of the line could just jot down and decode those sound and then writing down the word by word. So actually, dolphins can have some their own language by sending such signal to each other. And sometimes I know even that there are some psychologists or zoologists have investigated and have even realized some part of their language and how they communicate, what they tell to each other. And if you want, you can search the YouTube and you will have fun. You will, there are jaw-dropping facts about dolphins communication. Okay, so you can search it. So activity number 4 is guess that sound. Identify sounds without looking. It's a very, very lovely game that most of the time children find it easy in the beginning, but after 4 or 5 minutes of paying attention and listening, they cannot continue doing that because of their weak auditory tolerance. So auditory tolerance is another definition that many of the children that seem they have good auditory attention, they easily get tired in a very short span of time. So there's not a surprise that these children struggle in the classroom setting. In classroom setting, they start the day with full of energy, but they don't know how to regulate themselves. They are not good at energy management or energy conservation. So what happens is that after the first hour of listening up to the instructions or paying attention to the instruction, they get tired. What's the reason behind that? The reason behind of that exhaustion is that they were able to have cortical auditory attention. So they needed the brain cortex to identify the sounds. In fact, they needed to explicitly pay voluntary attention to identify the sounds and process the words. That's why they should spend a huge deal of energy and concentration over listening the instruction or identifying the sound. But normally, we expect the children and human beings to listen to the audio, the surrounding, or listen to the dialogue or communication partially subcortical or automatized. Yes? So there is a process of automatization which is very important. Just remember that for the first days that you started to sit at the car wheel, and then you started to drive a car. So on the first couple of days, maybe you are fully vigilant, you're holding the wheel so with 2 hands, watching everywhere, just keep memorizing and reviewing and revising the steps of procedure of driving the car. Okay? But after a couple of weeks of driving, you gradually subcorticalize it or automatize it or send it to the autopilot version of the brain, in which the brain is monitoring some automatic actions. Okay? So in the meantime, that brain is aware about what's happening, and the brain is ready to take into action, but it's outsourced to the autopilot or automatic part of the brain. So we ourselves are able to listen, identify, distinguish, process, and make sense out of the words spoken through 80% subcorticalized or automatized way of listening. That's why we don't get tired that easily when listening to a lecture when it is spoken in our mother tongue language. But just imagine that if a person is trying hard to just detect the sound of word for word of a language which is not his mother tongue, it's much harder for him. So it's a very, very common phenomenon for every immigrant that comes to a new, that goes to go to immigrate to a new country with a different language. And I myself truly remember for the first 2 or 3 years of my immigration, once I came to Canada, I used to experience huge deal of migraine or headache after the first hour of attending any class that I knew the content, that I already knew the content, but since that workshop or class was um, were delivered in English, it was hard for me to continuously having my explicit, voluntary, not automatized attention. And then it is called auditory tolerance. Yes, to confess, I was weak at that, and it made lots of headache and migraine to me. So there is not a surprise that children with lack of auditory attention get tired after the first couple of hours of their school time, and they need some break. And also, in order to improve it, you just don't try a few activities for a short span of time, and if the child answers to them correctly, you say, okay, she is good at that. Yes, she is good at that after you repeat it only 4 or 5 times. But if you keep doing it for 4 or 5 minutes, then you will see the number of errors raised. So it's important to keep practicing to work on auditory tolerance as well. Also, put it in mind. Now, consider somehow that, keep it in mind that um, provide that activity in a way that the child doesn't lose his motivation. The activity should be novel and innovative and new to him every time that he tries it. But yes, working on auditory tolerance is the key. So, fun fact number 4 is about elephants that can hear low frequency sound that humans cannot. So we mentioned that, for example, the maximum bass frequency humans can hear is 20 hertz, but elephants can hear less than 20 hertz as well. And sometimes you will see that in ancient tribes or in very, very old tribes that didn't have scientists among themselves, but they used to have witch with themselves. On those tribes, they used to just observe carefully to the animals and learn a lot lessons from them. For example, when they notice that elephants are restless or agitated or they are nervous and anxious and moving around, they would feel that maybe some bad weather is coming. Maybe some earthquake is so close to them. So elephants can feel the vibrations out of the low frequency sound that we cannot hear with our own ears. But once we observe elephants' behavior, if we see they are nervous with no specific reason, we feel that elephants are fully fed, they are not hungry, they have had their adequate sleep, but they are still nervous, moving around, restless, agitated. So at these situations, yes, our ancestors used to interpret it as a kind of some natural disaster. Yes, many of the natural disasters might have had sounds that were notifying us of the arrival, but our ears were not able to interpret it. So it's about fun fact 4. Activity 5 is about story listening. Yes, it's a very good activity that we tell a story to our child, and then once we read a few pages, we ask, okay, can you make a recap of that? What happened? Can you remember the details? Who was Anne? Who was Ted? What happened between them? who bought what for who, when did it happen, why Ted got angry. So many questions, many follow-up questions after reading the book, which is going to help language comprehension and listening comprehension. So activity number 6 is about clapping pattern. That can you copy what I clap? And keep continuously doing different pattern of clapping and asking the child to repeating them. But sometimes maybe the child is not able to make the same clapping pattern, even though his auditory skill is not that bad, but he is not able to make it a kind of intuitive ideomotor praxia, that he hears what you clap, but he cannot make that rhythm with his hand because of sequential dyspraxia or ideomotor dyspraxia. Okay, which is a different thing. But intake and output of this activity can improve auditory skills and sequential and ideomotor praxia in children. It is one of the most common, the simplest activity that needs no equipment, but you can try it with wide range of people with different level of complexity or difficulty, and it's always novel and fun because you might make music even with that. Okay, so give it a try. You won't regret of that. Activity number 7 is about a call game. That whatever I say, you repeat, you repeat, you repeat. So once upon a time, I was a man that went to a cinema. So in the beginning, maybe it seemed easy, but once we ask the child to stop till we finish our sentence, then he is allowed to repeat it. So we start with a word. So repeat after me. Blue, blue. Red, red. Then we make it into 2 words or a statement. Let's say blue bag, and then we make it into 3 words, 4 words. Then we make a sentence with that. And 4-word sentence. Yes, I go to school. I go to school. And then the child repeats. And then we make the sentence a little longer. I go to school along with my mom. Along with my mom. So it's way longer sentence. So we can make it longer, and the child is about to memorize it and repeat that long sentence with every detail of that. So it's going to improve MLU or mean length of utterance. Also, it's going to improve the child's working memory and auditory memory, and respectively auditory attention. Fun fact number 5 that I wanted to share with you is that some people have absolute ears. Okay, I'm a musician as well, and actually having absolute ear is a very, very rare intelligence island. Is a very, very weird thing, in fact. We have some people that can be in a concert where 50 musical instruments are being played at the same time, and they can hear every single of the musical instruments by themselves. Almost all musical orchestra leaders, the one that do this, and you feel it's a very easy thing. And there are plenty of rules for this simple behavior that we all feel that we can do it. Okay? The, the musical orchestra leaders have absolute ears. They can, they are amazing in this skill. They can listen to the sound of each music instrument separately, even when the other four instruments are playing. In the meantime, just imagine a drum is playing, and in the meantime, piano is playing just like ding, 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 and the electric guitar is playing something, and in the meantime, the orchestra leader is saying, wait, you played one note wrong. Who? The, the guitar player behind the drum player played that section one note worse. So we say, wow, how come? Again, we repeat. And then we realize that, yes, that person played one note wrong amongst, let's say, 200 notes that have been played simultaneously at that same time. So that having absolute ear is a talent amongst animals and humans, and amongst humans is um, just search absolute ear, and so you will find some people that can have this miraculous power. Of course, they cannot say that they have evil eyes. Most of them, most of them suffer from many of them ugly sound in the environment. They are suffer from sound pollution in the environment. Uh, and we easily can ignore this sound, but they really suffer from them. But anyway, it's a gift. It's a gift too. So activity number 8 is about hidden object listening. So follow verbal clues to find objects. So I hide 5 dinosaurs in a big hall, and I'm going to ask my child to find them. But the child is about to listen to me carefully. So turn around and stop when you see the door. Okay. 4 steps forward. Aha. Sit down on your knee. Reach out your hand and pick up the purple book off the floor. Find page number 15. Read the first sentence on that page. What did you tell? You say, shoecase. Okay, maybe they're in the shoecase. The child goes to the shoecase and find one dinosaur. Okay, so it's an activity in which you are going to give verbal clues, and the child is about to precisely listen to you to get to the result. Yes, so it's a very fun activity. Children love it, but you need to be equipped well with dramatization, with playing as if you are a theater actress, as if you are a theater actor. Okay, very important to make it fun. Look, have you ever experienced the people that don't know how to tell a joke? So the funniest joke can be very blunt by a person, vice versa. And the blunt statement can be very funny when someone know how to cook it. Okay? So just cook the activities in a way that becomes fun to the child. Yeah? Activity number 9 musical chair, auditory cues to sleep. It's very similar to that one which was about, let's say, stopping when music is off. So we don't continue talking about that part again. Activity number 9 is about this. In order to save time, we go to activity number 10, which is about name that tune. Identify sound by hearing a few notes. So if I say da 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 da, so what is that sound? So long the bridges, aha, falling down. So if I play da 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 da, you know it, yes? Da 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 da. Yes. So it's identify a sound by hearing a few notes. And many of the children find it very fun. You can make friends with them by doing so. You can establish a very great rapport with them. When you don't know a child, you can guess based on the age level, you can guess what types of slang that child has been exposed with. And then you start a few of them. You start with the easiest time to encourage the child or make him braver to participate in that game. And then you will have lots of fun. Fun fact number 6 is that the ear never stops hearing, even when you sleep. Yes. So, um, um, so very fond memory of my childhood or the time that I was a teenager was that we have thought so that ear never stop hearing. And in order to improve our English language, there have been some media in cassette player. We had a cassette player. Later, CD came, but before in my era of life, we used to listen cassette player. So we kept playing cassettes, then we fell into sleep. No, in fact, we pushed the playback on the cassette player, and we went to bed. We used to go to bed, and when sleeping, we were hoping that that 60 minutes of the cassette player that is playing some English language being played in that in the conversation or CBC News or anything like that. And then we were hoping to improve our English language. I don't know, but to be honest, yes, if for every other sensory system, there is a kind of way that we can close. For example, we can stop seeing by closing our eyelid. So once I put my eyelids down, I can't see anything. Yes, but ears are always on. Even when you are asleep, you are hearing the thing. Your brain is responsible to detect if that sound in the environment is a threat, is something you need to be vigilant about to wake up or run away, or if you can continue sleeping. Yes? So our brain has been trained that if you hear some sound like as if some snake is hissing, okay, then you might wake up. Or some contractual sound like that. Or a roaring of a lion. Yes? So the brain detects it and you are in sleep. So your ears are like kind of, let's say, some watchtower. Some watchtower that even though your eyes are taking a break when sleeping and closing eyes to sleep, but the ears are watchtower. They are just monitoring the surrounding environment. Yes, isn't it fun? Activity 11 is about sound sorting. It categorizes sound as loud, soft, or high or low. So another thing that we should give adjective to the sound. It is a very important activity to work and play with children. Okay? We can say that sound is friendly. That sound is low. That sound is annoying. Yes, that sound feels like a birthday cake. Okay? So how we can start working the imagination and also encouraging the child to pay attention to the details of the characteristic of each sound when categorizing it into a similar category of other sounds with the similar characteristics. So it's very, very important that we actually encourage our children about that. So right now, another part that I wanted to speak about is that just learn it, just have it, consider it for future that if you want to learn something, you need to find describing words for that. Okay? If you want to learn anything about anything, okay, you need to try describe it. So, for example, I have a weird feeling, but when my psychologist asked me, "What's your feeling?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Okay, but try harder. What's your feeling?" I said, "I can't feel myself. I'm numb." He said, "Oh, numb. Okay." Again, I say, "What's your feeling?" I said, "I'm sad." And my psychologist might ask, if do you mean that you are sad or you are upset or you are tired or frustrated or you are gloomy or angry or jealous or envy? And I feel that, wow, they are all negative feelings and emotions that might be categorized in same category of feeling numb. But once my psychologist asked me about the difference of them, I started to think internally to feel myself better, to get to know myself better. So, once you want to learn a discipline or a new method or a new phenomenon or get to know something, you need to get to know about the word, describing words, categorizing them, and try your best to define it with language. Because if you don't have language or words about something, you cannot think of that thing. Okay? Activity number 12 is auditory memory chain. Add to a sequence of words. So, yeah, I have mentioned it earlier about making a sentence longer, 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 and then it could be a sentence, it could be a sequence of random words that every person will add another word to the chain of words, and the other person is supposed to remember and repeat all those words that is earlier spoken and add another thing. So I start monkey. My friend said monkey, squirrel. Again, I say monkey, squirrel, egg. My friend said monkey, squirrel, egg, syrup. And then it's being repeated after 12 or 15 repetition. It's really hard to remember the order and every word that is changed after each other. It's a fun thing. Fun fact number 7 is about bats. That, wow, this funny, wingy squirrel. can see with the sound, can see with sound. In fact, it sends some sound from its throat, and the echolocation, the vibration of the sound, and the amount of time that is taking to get back that sound to his own ear, he detects the rock, the stones, the predator, and then he can localize himself in the environment in the fully dark. So maybe the bats are fully almost fully blind. But by making sound and hearing back the echolocation of that, it can detect it can detect its position in the space. Of course, I think that you know this fact, but it's again mysterious to me. Activity number 13 is about rhyming words, listening and finding rhyming words. So it's a very great exercise for improving phonological awareness for children who have difficulty with reading skills and writing skills. Okay, and I strongly recommend you to make yourself more familiarized with Dr. Steele's book. Dr. Steele's book, all of those books have funny rhymes, and then you will read it along with your child, and you will have fun with him, and then you will learn plenty of rhyming words that you can uh, stack back to each word, and then make fun out of that. Um, so yes, it's another activity. Fun fact number 8 is that I'm a dog owner and I'm a big fan of dogs, but to be honest, I should confess that yes, cats have better hearing than dogs, and cats can detect ultrasonic sounds. And it's very weird that now when you say it to the dog owner, they might say, but believe me, if I call my dog, he comes down from upstairs. But if I ask my cat to join me, he doesn't care even when he is a sofa next to me. In fact, cats hear but doesn't respond back to us. So in fact, they don't find it worthy to be responsive to humans. In fact, so it doesn't mean that they haven't heard it. Most of the time, they don't care. Uh, it's another psychological fact about cats. So, from that fun fact, what we learn is that interpretation of auditory skill sometimes is not that easy because sometimes you need to make sure if the person had enough motivation to respond you back, if the person knew the rules of the game that he's supposed to respond you, if the person had appropriate social interaction with you, or like a kind of child with autism that doesn't have social reciprocity. So if a person doesn't have social reciprocity, he is not responsive to you. And even if you understand or hear something, maybe he doesn't say that I understood it. Okay? So it's another thing that I needed you to know about. It's not that easy to separate auditory attention from attentional behavior, from responsiveness, from language comprehension, from motivation, from cognitive function, all together are ending up to some overall function. But once the person becomes more experienced, that person can design a few number of activities in which improving auditory attention is the common factor, even though in each activity separately another thing has been worked as well. For example, activity number 7 was about, let's say, apraxia, and auditory attention. Activity number 11 was about working memory and auditory attention. Activity number 12 was about imagination and creativity and auditory attention. Activity number 13 was about language skill and auditory attention. But all of them have some common place of auditory attention, auditory processing skill, listening skill. Yeah? So there are only two more activities here. Match a beat using body percussion that I think we have previously spoken about different beats that we can make with our body percussion, like that. Yeah, and then copying the same thing or listening to that thing. Activity 15, whisper chain. Pass a message by whispering. That is let's say, broken telephone. So broken telephone is a very, very funny game that we can make a chain of people saying some word sentence, and each person is going to translate to the next person by whispering, and then we'll see how awkwardly that message has been transferred after 5 or 6 or 7 attempts for no transfer. So it's another thing that can be used. And then it's time to have a summary. Auditory attention helps with learning and communication. Those activities improve listening skills, and fun facts show how important hearing is. In fact, yes. Thank you very much. And if there is any question, I'm ready to answer. And I really enjoyed having this lecture for you. Now I'm going to stop the recording. And if you have any question, I'm willing to respond to you. Thank you.